I wanted to make something with my own hands, but I didn't know what. Then suddenly, on eBay, I came across these amazing Dorodango spheres, and you wouldn't believe it, they're actually quite expensive. So I decided right then that I wanted to try making them myself at home. I went searching for clay in my neighborhood and decided to visit a few dumps I had seen not far from home. Oh, the cacti are already ripe, they must be really tasty. I found a great pile of soil and I think it should work perfectly. I have a wonderful camping shovel and it's going to come in very handy right now. Write in the comments if you've ever tried cactus fruits. How tasty are they or not? I think this is great soil. It's right near my house, not far at all, and you don't need to look for anything special to make your own Dorodango sphere. Let's take a few stones, so if the clay turns out to be too coarse, we can crush it into a fine powder. This summer was very dry and all the grass has withered, but soon the rains will come and everything around will turn green again. I found another pile of soil. Tia, look how interesting it looks. There's brown, gray and white clay here. I think this white clay will be perfect for our Dorodango. Write in the comments which country you're watching my channel from and what you'd like to see in future videos. Maybe you have some interesting ideas that I could bring to life. I'd really love to read your messages, so please leave a comment. I'll reply to everyone. First, we need to sift the clay through a strainer to remove the larger pieces and keep only the fine fraction. I hope it will work for us. It's good that the weather is so dry. The clay is already completely dry, so I don't have to dry it myself. It's ready for sifting, but when you make your own Dorodango, make sure the clay is completely dry and crumbly. Otherwise, you'll have trouble separating the larger particles. This is my method. I've seen others do it differently, but I believe this way is better. Yes, the stones were really large, so they need to be sifted out carefully. If you have a finer sieve, use it. Even after sifting, the particles are still quite big. Maybe it's fine though. This is my first try, so we'll see how it turns out. I've never sifted clay like this before. It's actually a really fascinating process. Look at the result. I really like how it's turning out. It's so soft and pleasant to the touch. I'll take some plastic bags and fill them with clay. It'll be easier to mix it with water that way. Many people do it in a bowl, but I think mixing it in a bag works much better. I'm not really sure how many shovelfuls I'll need, so I'll take a little extra just in case. Perfect, this amount will definitely be enough to make a nice Dorodango bowl. You need to get some water and slowly add it to the clay. Do it carefully and a little at a time, because if you add too much, it'll get too runny, and that's not good. The clay should be halfway between dry and wet. Kind of semi-moist. It's hard to describe, but you'll know the right texture when you feel it. You need to mix the clay with water really well. If you feel there's not enough water, add it little by little, just a few drops at a time. It's very easy to add too much and then it won't work at all. So it's better to pour in small amounts gradually than to overdo it. As I've noticed, the perfect ratio of water to clay is when it forms small lumps or little balls. At that point, the clay molds really well. You should aim for all the clay in the bag to turn into tiny pellets. That means it's evenly soaked with water but not too wet. Yes, I got a perfect balance of water and clay. That's exactly what you should aim for. I think now I can easily shape my Dorodango ball, so let's get started. Take the clay and press it firmly in your hands, shaping it into a round form. Try to make it as even as possible. The more tightly you compress it now, the easier it will be to work with later. So put in some effort and form your clay ball. Let's put the leftover clay back into the bag. We might need it later. I already like the shape of this Dorodango clay ball, but it still needs a bit of work. I think if I roll it in circular motions on a hard surface, it'll become smoother and more rounded. Yes, it's shaping up perfectly. The sphere is becoming smooth and round, almost like a real ball. But the clay is still a bit uneven and small cracks are starting to appear on the surface. I think I should fill them with a bit more material and add some dry clay. Since this is my first attempt, I'm not sure if my clay particles are fine enough or if I need an even finer powder like clay. We'll find out soon. We need a small container. It could be a mug, a little jar, a cup, or even a shot glass. Anything you have will do. The main thing is that its shape should be comfortable to use for rolling and help form a smooth, even sphere with the right radius. You can slightly moisten the cup so it softens the clay a bit. That way, the clay will fill in the cracks better and absorb into them. Moisten the cup as needed. When you notice the clay starting to dry out, add a bit of moisture. It will glide more smoothly and spread more evenly over the surface of our Dorodango. The main thing is not to press too hard on the ball so it doesn't lose its shape. I decided to use this bottle cap. It has a nice small shape and I think it'll be convenient for polishing the ball. It turned out really well, it polished perfectly. Look how smooth it's become. Now the main thing is to preserve this smooth surface and make sure the ball doesn't dry out too much. That's why I'm sealing it in a bag and letting it rest overnight. Let's start cleaning the white clay. This clay looks just like flour. It's just as loose and powdery. At first glance, it's even hard to tell that it's clay and not regular soil. I'm sure that if someone saw this shot of the clay being sifted through a strainer, they'd probably think it was real flour. What do you think? What does it look like to you? I don't know how many shovelfuls of clay I'll need for my Dorodango, but I'll probably make a bit more. I'll sift plenty just in case. Who knows, maybe we'll come up with something else to make from this clay later. After sifting, there's a lot of debris and big chunks left. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but there are also some small sharp stones mixed in. It feels so soft and pleasant to the touch, truly relaxing. When you touch it, it's like touching air. I don't even know how to describe it. It's incredibly delicate, yet you realize it's just earth. I've read that if you dry and crush very fine clay, it turns into a light powdery dust. That dust is soft and airy, and I think this must be it. I'm not even sure how much water to add. We'll just experiment and see how it goes. We remember that the goal is to get the right texture. When the clay forms small pellets and holds water inside, that's when it's perfect for shaping our Dorodango. You need to mix the clay thoroughly until it becomes a uniform mass. A plastic bag works perfectly for this. It makes mixing the clay easy and convenient. Perfect. I managed to find the right balance of water and clay. The small pellets turned out great. Now let's start shaping the Dorodango by pressing them together into one big ball. I had a bit of clay left, so I decided to make another one. A small Dorodango. I'm curious to see what it will look like when it's tiny. So now I've got 2 clay blanks. I'm going to start working with them. They need to be rolled carefully. We'll do it on a hard surface. Remember not to press too hard on the ball, otherwise it will lose its shape. But we do need to compress it, so make gentle circular movements while rolling. Unfortunately, the surface isn't perfectly smooth, but for now it's just what we need to press the clay tightly. The most important thing is to choose the right size bowl so it can help you form a smooth, even circle. This clay is quite unusual. It feels greasy, almost like plasticine, yet it still keeps a slightly liquid texture. Such a strange material. To polish the small Dorodango, I'll use a tiny cap with a matching radius. It should fit the size of the bowl perfectly. Yes, there are still tiny hard pieces of stone in it. Maybe it's not pure clay, since they don't dissolve, and that's really not good. So I managed to make 2 balls, but they're still a bit uneven and don't polish perfectly. It seems there's some fine grit left in the clay that scratches the surface of the bowl. Alright, I'll put them in a bag and leave them overnight. Tomorrow morning we'll continue working on our Dorodango. Well, it's the next day. Take a look at our Dorodango bowls. They look really interesting and quite different from each other. The type of clay really does make a big difference. If you want to get truly clean clay, you need to sift out all the tiny stones. Write in the comments and I'll share the method on how to do it properly. This technique is usually used in pottery and it helps you get perfectly smooth clay without a single pebble. Alright, let's set our Dorodango bowls aside for now and take a look at what's left in the clay after sifting. I think there are some sharp stones in there. It feels so soft and delicate, like powder or flour, but I can still feel tiny bits of sharp stones in it. Very interesting. I think they need to be crushed even more. Earlier I found 2 stones outside and I think they will be perfect for grinding the clay into powder. Since I don't have a mortar and pestle, these stones should work great for crushing the clay and breaking down the small particles. Pour a bit of clay onto the stone and start gently grinding it, rubbing one stone against the other until all the small particles are finely crushed. It turns into a very fine powder. I'm glad it worked. I recommend you try this too. It's the easiest way to grind clay quickly without any special tools. Alright, let's start sanding the big Dorodango. It's already dried out and become quite hard. It has deep scratches and there are still tiny hard stone fragments inside that keep scratching the surface. I'll moisten it slightly with water and take the clay we just ground on the stones. I'll gently sprinkle it on top to fill the small cracks and dents on our Dorodango. Yes, it really works. Our finely ground clay fills all the pores, dents and cracks perfectly. It spreads smoothly over the ball and sticks to it very well. Let's take a bit of olive oil and rub it on the rim of our jar. I'm not sure if it's too early to do this or if it's the right moment. Someone online said that applying oil helps the ball polish better, but I don't know how true that is. Maybe it's still too early. The ball isn't fully dry yet, and the oil might affect the polishing process. I'll take another small cap with a narrow radius and a bit of water to carefully rub the top layer so it blends into the ball. Yes, the surface turned out great. I really like it. Now let's work on the small ball. I think it also needs to be rolled with the cap first to make it smoother and more even. It's turning out quite well, but I think I need a slightly different diameter. Maybe something harder like a mug or a cup, but I found a bottle with just the right size and it works perfectly. I really like how the small Dorodango spins inside this bottle. Now it's time to add some oil. This is when the bowl will really start to polish. I think the bowl is too dry, so I'll apply a bit more oil on top to help it spin more smoothly inside the bottle. This is such an enjoyable activity. It truly relaxes and calms the nerves. I recommend everyone try it. Spin your Dorodango on a glass, bottle or cup and tell me in the comments what you felt. Did you experience a sense of relaxation? I'd really love to know. It's turning out great. I just need to add a bit more shine to these Dorodango bowls. I'm not completely happy with the surface of this Dorodango. It's a bit uneven. I think I need to roll it a bit more in the bowl to smooth out the edges and make it perfectly round. Yes, it's true. When you keep spinning it in the bowl, all the uneven edges start to wear off the surface of the bowl. Look how much clay I've ground away. It's much smoother and more even now. Let's take a bit of oil, apply it to the jar and start spinning our Dorodango again. Look how well it's turning out. Now that the bowl is more round, it's polishing much better. I think I'll use something with a smaller radius, like this bottle, and see how nicely it spins inside. Let's dry our Dorodango a little in the sunlight. I decided to do an experiment and apply paraffin oil, the kind used for oil lamps, to the small Dorodango. For the medium Dorodango, we'll use regular sunflower oil. For the large Dorodango, we'll use olive oil. So now we'll pour some paraffin oil into a small cap. Look, it's completely transparent. Then we'll gently apply it to the small Dorodango. I think paraffin oil is the best choice for adding shine because the wax it contains coats the surface of the Dorodango really well. Yes, it shines perfectly and the surface looks really beautiful. Look how beautifully it shines in the sunlight. Now let's take regular sunflower oil. It has a slight yellow tint, so it should give our Dorodango an interesting shade. Take any cloth. I'm using a microfiber one. Gently dip the tip into the oil and carefully apply it to the bowl. The main thing is not to overdo it, but if the bowl is very dry, it absorbs the oil right away. After applying the oil, you can polish the bowl thoroughly with a cloth. Sunflower oil has a very strong penetrating effect and it made our bowl look matte. We're pouring the olive oil. It's yellow, thick and viscous. I'm curious to see how it will spread over our Dorodango. Dip the tip of the microfiber cloth into the oil and gently apply it to our large Dorodango. Then take the microfiber cloth and polish the bowl thoroughly. The better you rub it, the more it will shine. But the oil has a very strong penetrating effect, which is a bit strange. It makes our bowls matte. On one hand, it's not the classic glossy Dorodango, but honestly, I think the matte version looks even nicer. These are the beautiful Dorodango I managed to make. Thank you so much for watching my video. Support me in the comments and let me know if you've ever made a Dorodango yourself or would like to try making one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.